All right, guys, welcome to day 18. This is our view from afar of our Nerf Surf and Turf game. Now, some of you have noticed that this cast has come out a little bit later than normal, and that is because, hey, it's Friday night. My lady and I spend time together. We do watch movies, we snuggle, and whatnot. So I'm now here in this in the waning hours of the evening here, and going to go ahead and cast this, and then probably go back up and snuggle some more. There you go, folks. That's what people do. So we can see here very clearly that big changes have happened in the New World, and so one of the things we notice is that northern United States is gone, and all that's left of central United States is this little island here. That, of course, used to be an AI but got taken over early on. But of course, now is about to be taken. You can see a little cannonade coming over here. It's only a matter of time. The question is the southern United States going to be allowed to survive or not? We're not really sure here from this view from afar. What we do know is that this one country has taken over two more countries. So we now have Bullet Hole here in Greenland basically dominating the New World here. So we'll see what happens from there. It's actually, if it's going to happen to any country, the naval country is the one you kind of want that to happen to, because guess what's between the New World and everybody else? A giant fucking ocean. So having a lot of boats is going to be a big advantage for the New World. However, having an army and having Air Force to come behind and land is also pretty big. One of the things, I've played a lot of 31 player maps. One of the things you've got to do is you've got to have a strong Navy. Typically, try to land it down here, maybe in Spain, maybe in Britain. But once you land, you've really got to land it, capture a territory, and build that airfield, and then land your planes, because you need that Air Force in the New World, in the Old World as well. So, it's kind of this tricky thing about how to get your huge Navy over there, and then how to land forces, and then get your, kind of bring in that, float your planes over. Like, I just picture a bunch of planes just in the water with sort of water wings. Have you seen those water wings that people wear? Only they're on planes now, like giant water wings on planes, and you just kind of float them along. And possibly you've got 25 guys kicking with their feet, kind of pushing that, airplane through the water. I'm sure it's more sophisticated than that technologically. I don't know. I haven't seen the specs. I haven't seen the blueprints. But anyway, the point being, as you move across, you do have to have a sort of a beefy Navy. So it's not such a bad thing that Bullet Hole has a lot of territory. The question is, what is northern and southern Canada going to do here? One of the things we do see is that southern Canada has given up a big territory here, which happens to be a double resource territory, double wheat resource territory, to northern Canada. What does that mean? I don't know. Also, southern Canada has given up a territory to Arabia. A what? A what? Arabia down here. This is maybe the biggest distance. I don't know how that happened. I don't know that anybody knows how that happened. How did Arabia? This is literally Quebec, Arabia. Quebecois. This is the French Canadian Arabians. Wow. Wow. I don't know what Christopher Walken does not know what to say. Wow. I don't know what to say. That's wow. I need to stop at the wow, because the rest of my impression of Christopher Walken is terrible, because he's kind of like no. All right. Anyway, let's give that up right away and move down to see what's happening with the Southern powers down here. We've seen that the Libby twins here have done pretty good for themselves, but they've sort of stagnated here for a little bit. Silver Star, we've talked about this in the last couple of videos, like, why do you have big troops here? Why do you have big troops here? Oh no, I scrolled forward. I wasn't supposed to do that. You didn't see anything, guys. You didn't see anything. But what I will say is that Silver Star seems to be moving over, and we seem to be seeing some real conquering happen over here. Arabia is crumbling. But what does that mean moving forward? I don't really know, because Arabia has a territory here, and Arabia has a territory way freaking up there. And this used to seem like the sort of the crucial thing in the Middle East. And I still think it's pretty important that if the Southern Bloc gets Arabia, that's very, very important. But what we've been seeing here happening in the Mediterranean, you can't see any of these troops in here, but there's a lot of boats and a lot of troops in the Mediterranean, is that if any one sort of coalition emerges dominant, then the others sort of shift around and try to oppose that, because nobody wants one coalition to run away with this game and win it. And that makes perfect sense, right? I mean, it's actually, it's kind of like Survivor. It's like the reality TV show. If one person starts to dominate, then the rest of them sort of like vote them off the island. It's like, no, we can't have that. And it's a similar kind of thing happening here. So very interesting balance of power, and a balance of perception of power also. It's not just power, it's how you present your power to the world. And there's a lot of diplomacy going on here. So in my opinion, we have sort of this northern power, which is emerging. We have the central power, which has sort of been continuously pushing and with a lot of strength, but also facing a lot of opposition. We have the southern power down here. And then we do have this western power of Harkold, Smitty, and Grandma Karen here, who have sort of been playing sort of on the outskirts of things, playing in the margins, which is actually a decent place to be, because while you're building up your military strength, you're sort of flirting with alliances on either side. So in terms of this particular coalition, I would think they're flirting with the center and the south, but possibly not committing fully, or possibly committing for limited time frames. I don't know. And I also don't know what's going on with the north and the center here, because they have got to have some kind of arrangement, and by the way, whatever arrangement they have is potentially going to be strained by the fact that Russia just collapsed and northern Russia is taking over now as a premier power alongside Finland and Sweden. Let's face it, these three are now premier powers in the north. So what does that mean? I don't know. What does that mean for the balance of power? I don't know. What does that mean for these Western European powers? Are they going to sort of pivot and consider a new threat? Are the Central Powers going to consider a new threat? Are they continuing to work with the North? I don't know. It depends on every coalition's idea of what the end game looks like. You might go ahead and align yourself with a powerhouse, thinking that you can go to the end with them. So just because somebody is steamrolling doesn't mean that you're going to work against them. Although that tends to be the sort of thing, is that everybody teams up on the powerhouse. Not necessarily if you want to tie your wagon to their apron strings or whatever the hell. I think I just mixed some metaphors there, but you get my point. There's a lot going on here politically, a lot going on. So we did mention that Paige had left the game, it seemed like, for a couple days, but Paige is back now. I'm not sure what that means, because once you leave the game for a couple days, sometimes it's hard to recover from. But Paige was in a really powerful position. In fact, was the first place player for days and days and days. So we'll see what develops there as well. Leaving the game for a while can be detrimental to your game health, but probably means that you have a good life health. It means you have a life. No, I'm just kidding. Like, look, we all have lives. I have a career, and I have a wife, and I have kids that come and visit. And my wife and I are about to go to a sort of a Halloween murder dinner theater thing tomorrow. Like, we have lives, but we do try to prioritize being able to check on this game a few times a day, and keep it on our phone in our pocket that we glance down at or whatever way too much. But anyway, very interesting stuff going on here in this faraway view. And I hope I didn't give too much as I zoomed in over here, but there were no units shown, so I think it's okay. But great stuff, and great stuff. The New World is finally turning. I'm very interested to see what happens, because when the New World unifies, it presents a brand new sort of focus for the center and the north of the old world. That's a new consideration that has to be thought about. And we've talked about this idea that if you play 31 player maps, typically it is, I don't know, I want to say around day 20, day 25, that the old world has to start worrying about invasion from the new world, and sometimes even earlier, especially if they can consolidate earlier. So if you played the 31 player map, you know what I'm talking about. There is this tension between the old world and the new world. And again, from the very beginning, I was kind of surprised that the new world did not team up and really try to dominate as a unified team. And again, the same sort of thing down here between Egypt and Arabia. And there's just no accounting for personality. If people don't get along, they just don't get along. And if somebody rubs you the wrong way, they rub you the wrong way. And probably a lot of history has been determined by that kind of thing, probably more than we're comfortable with. You know, for instance, like, you know, maybe if we're talking about World War II, you know, maybe just like Il Duce in Italy, who was the dictator there, maybe he just got along with, you know, with Hitler. Maybe they were just like, were, you know, compatible, you know, bros or something, you know, like that kind of thing matters. Sort of the compatibility or lack thereof can matter. So I'm really fascinated by that as well. Looking at what's going on in Europe, it is still chaos. I see it as anything other than stable. It's not stable. We have France with large forces moving around. We have Papa Smitty here, who has naval forces, but also land forces. And then Harcold, Spain, who hasn't really done much with his land forces, which leads me to believe that there's still a lot of land forces out there that haven't done much in terms of conquering. So what does that mean? Well, you know, I would have to say Sweden, Finland, they have large presence in Europe. Does that mean that their armies are exhausted? Well, yeah, they've been attacking, but they've also held territory for a long time. And the longer you hold that territory, the longer you get the resources, the silver, and the unit generation from those territories. So I don't know. Europe, it's not stable, but you know, the longer something stays the way it is, the longer it does tend to calcify and stabilize. So what appeared to be chaos is probably stabilizing. We'll keep an eye, though, and see what happens moving forward. All right, that's about it, guys. That's it for now. Thanks for checking in. I'm glad you all are here. I'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos.